Be prepared for TMI. I don't know if I've just wet myself or if my waters have just broken. There was just like a whoosh. Everything came out onto the floor. Let this video be a warning to you guys. I basically had blood everywhere. He is officially 18 days old. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have already seen photos of our latest addition to the family. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. And this is my first official video as a mum of two. So yes, super exciting. My baby boy arrived on the 2nd of July on a Friday, and it was pretty incredible. I mean, I think all new parents say that obviously, but it happened so quick, like fast and furious quick. And oh, you can probably hear him. He's actually on the bed just behind me having a little nap there. We are currently the 20th of July, so he is officially 18 days old, and time has just flown by. I think it's probably going even quicker now that it's my second, and I've also got my toddler to look after as well at the same time. So anyway, I thought I would tell you guys about my birth story for those who are interested. I have given birth for the second time in France in a hospital in Niort. And it was a very positive birth experience, and even though it was not as expected, as you'll hear, it is something that I think would probably help anybody who is wondering what labour feels like, what a natural birth feels like, you know, contractions, and also if you are anticipating the birth of your second child as well. They do say things can go quicker, and I can definitely vouch for that. My first birth, my first birth was from the time my water broke to actually giving birth was like about 28 hours. It was long. We spent a long time in hospital, whereas this will be completely different. So sit back, relax, have a cup of tea, or it's a really hot day here in France, have a nice Diet Coke or something, and let's get into my birth story. First of all, if you did click on this video hoping to see some shots of actual giving birth and going into labour and all that stuff, you'll be disappointed. I'm sorry. It happened so quickly and unexpectedly that I didn't even have time to film. I mean, unless we'd have had actually a camera crew, we would have not got anything at all. So sorry about that, guys, but be prepared for TMI. Okay, I have never been pregnant for that amount of time. I was 41 weeks pregnant, and I had to go into hospital because in France, when you get to your due date, which is 41 weeks in France as opposed to the US or the UK, you go into hospital to get things checked out, make sure everything's okay. And so I had had no contractions prior to this rendezvous, nothing, no spotting, no mucus plug, no waters, nothing at all. So I was pretty much expecting to be sent home and everything, as that's what happened. And so yeah, the midwife checked me out and just said nothing's happening, so you can go home and then come back in another couple of days time and check it out again. I honestly thought that I would have to be induced for this pregnancy. I was not scared, but I was hoping to do it naturally as I had done the first time. So when I got to 41 weeks, I was a bit anxious, but then trying to see the positive side. This time next week we'll have a baby, no matter how he comes into the world. So when the midwife told me nothing's happening, go home, come back in a couple of days time, I was kind of just thinking, okay, he'll be here, I'll be induced on Monday the 5th, I think it was, as they had talked to me about it before. So I went home, and she had also said, oh, because there's a greater chance of you coming back and being induced and having your baby in the next couple of days, you will have to have a COVID test, like a, you know, get a test done, make sure you haven't got COVID. That's just standard procedure for women who have reached their due date and then are going to be in hospital for the next week. And so I booked my appointment on the Friday the 2nd of July at 11:30. Sorry, grunting in the background. Okay, sweetie. So I went home, and when I left my rendezvous, the midwife said, you know, you may get some spotting. It's completely normal because I was like looking up there and everything. I had nothing at all that evening, nothing at all. And then the next morning, so this was Friday the 2nd, at about 9:30, I had my 2-year-old with me and we were starting to like get up, have breakfast and everything. And at about 9:30, I then started having almost like period cramps, just little twinge like that, if you know what I mean. And I just thought, oh, it's probably because I was checked out there yesterday, so maybe that's kind of the side effect. And that's it, nothing else happened. I did phone my husband before leaving for the COVID test. It was about 11 o'clock, just to say I've had a couple of twinges, but it might just be because of my exam from yesterday. And he was like, yeah, okay, just phone me if anything else happens. Okay, love you, bye. That's the extent of our exchange. I had to take my toddler with me to get my COVID test done, and so there's a place set up not too far from my house, thank goodness, about 15-minute drive, and it's one where you stay in your car. It's like a drive-through COVID test thing. So that was at 11:30. So I was waiting in the queue. I was probably like the 30th car in line with my toddler. He was such a good girl. Lucy was amazing, thank goodness. I can't imagine having a toddler having a meltdown on that day. And then so I was sitting in my car. I'd been in my car for about 20 minutes, and I then started having contractions. And I thought, oh, you know, I don't know, are they Braxton Hicks? Are they real contractions? And because I was sitting still and not being able to move and stuff like that, I couldn't tell if they were real or not, because obviously it's completely normal to have false contractions like Braxton Hicks. And in general, you know that they're false when you move and you change position and they go away, whereas real contractions obviously stay. So I couldn't really do much about it. Had the test done, and then I also had to, like same day, I had to also drop off a parcel and get that sent off. So again, another 10-minute drive. Still having some contractions, but again, not really sure if they're real or not. I was able to drive and talk and function kind of thing, so I was okay. They seemed quite, not strong, like on a scale of 1 to 10, they're about 3. I've got quite a good pain threshold though, as I've witnessed with my first birth, so anyway. Got home at about 12:30, and I was getting lunch ready for Lucy, and I was starting to really feel the waves, you know, that proper waves of contractions. And I phoned my parents because I thought, well, because my dad was a GP, I thought I might see what they say as well. And my mum straight away was like, oh, have you started timing them? And I then started timing them, and they were about 3 minutes apart and lasting for about 30 seconds. So they were like cool as cucumber. Okay, my mum will come over just in case anything happens, and I'll phone the hospital just to see what they say. So there's Lucy having her lunch, and I phoned the hospital. I'm having some contractions. They're lasting every 3 minutes apart for 30 seconds, and they were really chill. They were just like, oh, come when you can no longer cope with the pain, it's fine. And I did say it's my second child, and oh no, it's, you know, come when you're ready. So yeah, so I was waiting for my mum to come. And also, just so you know, my husband was at work that day. He was, I didn't realise this, but he was actually nearly an hour and a half away from home. Just so happens that's where he was that day. During the latter part of my pregnancy, I have had my big yoga ball out, and that was really helping. I was basically just bouncing about on that and you know, doing my stretches and everything else, and it was really helping. And so there was Lucy having probably the most unhealthy lunch I could have ever made, because I think she had more chocolate and more screen time that day than she has ever had in her entire life. Thank goodness for Peppa Pig, I must say that, so thank you, creators of Peppa Pig. And so I was there just breathing through my contractions, and they were getting stronger. So now I was probably at like level 4, level 5. They were getting stronger, but still manageable. I could breathe through them. Basically every time I had a contraction, I would just return back to my yoga ball and then get through it and then carry on. Because then I was starting to think in my mind, I think that's probably maybe being a woman. I'm not saying all women are like that or men aren't like that, but certainly being me, I was like, damn it, you know, I have my video premiered for tonight at 8 PM on my YouTube channel, and I don't know if I'll be able to do that. What else? I also had to go on to my medical rendezvous and change a date for something. I was trying to get things done just in case it was D-Day. Make sure the washing was out and stuff like that, and washing up, just basically keeping busy. And then Lucy finished her lunch, and so I took her upstairs. I must have put Lucy down for her nap at about 1:30, and the whole time I was going up the stairs they were carrying on getting a bit stronger. I had about like 2 contractions on the stairs. And so I was timing them again, and I think they were still about 3 minutes apart, but lasting about 40 seconds to a minute long at that stage. And I was still able to talk through them and breathe through them, so that was good. And then I was downstairs and my mum arrived afterwards, like saving grace. My mum turned up, and she was just amazing, just absolutely amazing. And I am so lucky to have her so close, and she was able just to come straight away, so really lucky. So she arrived, and she was like, okay, what can I get you? Some water, what do you need, whatever. And I was still, you know, breathing through my contractions, still coping okay. And then they did kick up a notch, and I was having to concentrate while breathing through them. It then got to 2:30, and that's when things were kicked up a notch. I was really having to concentrate even harder to breathe through them. I don't think I was really talking through my contractions anymore. My mum was discussing things, and I had to sort of wait, breathe, and then be able to answer her. I was still aware, so I still wasn't in like the zone kind of thing. And at 2:30, that's when I said, I think we ought to phone Max and say to him to come home, because things feel like they're happening. Thank goodness I actually phoned him at 2:30, because otherwise he would have missed the birth of his son. So that was quite, if ever you have that instinct, like if ever you feel now's the time to go to hospital, now's the time to sort of call in everybody and sort things out, just do it. Even if you end up going and you're only a few centimeters dilated, at least you're there and everything's safe and fine for you, you know, so trust your instincts. So I phoned Max, and he said, okay, I've just finished this chantier thing. So he said he'd be back in about an hour and a half. So we were like, okay, so it's 2:30, so about 4 o'clock he should be home. My mum was thinking, okay, we need a plan if ever, you know, you feel like you need to go to hospital sooner. And my mum's had, she's had 5 kids, so she sort of knows the whole birthing contraction thing. So then we carry on talking, and I'm still breathing through my contractions, and I think then they got to about 2 minutes apart. Some of them were actually 1 minute apart, or 1 to 2 minutes apart, and lasting for, again, like 30 seconds to a minute long. And they were going up, like continuously going up a notch. And I was no longer kind of, I was kind of getting more and more into the zone. I don't know, for those of you who've actually been through labour, you'll know what I mean, possibly. But it's kind of like you're almost closing in on yourself and just concentrating on breathing. I think that's one of my biggest tips for like pain relief and trying to have a natural birth and everything. It's if you concentrate on your breathing, like, and you try and make that last as long as possible. Like you breathe in, your stomach comes in, and then you breathe out and you let go, which sounds a bit weird, but hey, it helped me. I'm just holding him because he's just starting to wake up. He's a bit, so we'll see. Hopefully I can film this video before he wakes up completely. So, so my suitcase was upstairs, and so my mum brought it back downstairs and put it in her car, and then there was a bit of a gap, and she had to also put the child seat into her car because I had my 2-year-old still asleep upstairs, and so we were kind of mindful of that. So we were thinking, okay, it was about 3 PM, and she could see that I was more and more concentrating on my contractions and everything, so she knew that things were happening. And so yeah, so suitcase was in her car, child's seat was in her car, and then I said we'll carry on waiting it out, wait for Max to get here. It feels okay for the moment. Had I known it was not too far away, I probably would have just gone to hospital, but anyway, it all turned out okay. At about 3:30, that is when my toddler woke up, and I said to my mum, I really don't want to sort of let her see me coping with like discomfort or anything like that, because she won't understand what's going on. She's obviously seen me on my bouncy ball, but not like pale and withdrawn and, you know, and all that. She went and got my 2-year-old and then put her in the high chair and had the high chair facing away from her, but she still knew that mummy was in the room, so she was okay. And again, she had like a chocolate muffin and just lots of lovely stuff as well. And I was mildly aware of her at that stage. I was properly more in the zone. And then it got to, I think it got to about 3:45 or 3:50, and that's when my husband arrived. And it was kind of like, hallelujah, he's arrived. And so my mum quickly transferred the suitcase to his car. I may have got that detail a bit wrong. I mean, I know the suitcase was being transferred and all that, so that was all good. He came in and he was like covered in dust, and he said, oh, do I have time to have a shower? And I was just like, oh, you know, just go. I mean, I was in labour, what else do you expect me to do? He went off to have his shower very quickly, and that's when my mum left with my toddler, and, you know, so that was like one less person to look after kind of thing, so that was good. My husband and I then left our house at about 4:15, and our hospital is about, let's say, 20-minute drive, so 10-15 minutes to get into the town, and then another 5-10 minutes to, depending on the traffic. At about 4 p.m. on a Friday, it is kind of busy, people are getting off work, so and also he was driving quite carefully because he could tell I was not faking it, kind of thing, that these were real strong contractions now. And it took me ages to sort of even get into the car, like bend and everything else, and I couldn't shut the door. So off we went to the hospital, we parked, and I just want to say, like, I think, thank goodness, he, like my parents, like my mum, he is a really, really calm person, like a rock. So with everything going on, you just want someone who's calm and collected and just supportive, and he was amazing. He did that role. Not that I was panicking, but and also I think had he known that his son was only a few minutes away, he probably would have panicked a bit more, to be fair. But that's, if you're accompanying someone who's going into labour or having a baby, just having someone who's calm is just amazing. It just it calms me down as well. So really, really cool. I was very, very lucky to have him there. So we must have arrived at hospital at about 4:30 roughly. We parked the car, and I kid you not, I love Niort Hospital, but the car park is atrocious. You really struggle to find a space. Yeah, it's not ideal, we'll put it that way. And because of COVID, there are certain entries and exits which are now one-way systems. So we had to park the car and then walk along the front of the hospital, and I was just, you know, having contraction after contraction. Max had the baby bag with him. We'd left the suitcase in the car because we thought, well, if, you know, might be giving birth tomorrow, so whatever, leave it in the car and he comes back for it tonight. That was the plan. We're going along having contraction after contraction, and he told me afterwards, because I was mildly aware of it, so he told me afterwards that, yeah, there are a few people who stopped to see if we wanted any help. And I do remember vaguely one woman, I think it was a midwife, who came out and was like, is everything okay? And I just remember Maxime just saying, yeah, everything's fine, we don't need help, thank you. What if we lived in a world where men were going into labour and giving birth? I don't know how they would cope, or how they would say, yeah, we're fine, or whatever. Anyway, I would not have been able to have sat in a wheelchair. Walking's very good when you're in labour. it gets things moving. It took us about 10 minutes to actually get from the car park to the bloc de naissance, to the, oh, what's it called? I'm sorry, I can't remember what it's called in English, but the bloc de naissance. And from memory, I was like, okay, bloc de naissance, and I know that there are some toilets just outside of it. And we literally could see bloc de naissance from afar. And I said to Max, oh my gosh, I feel something. I need to go and check in the toilet. I don't know if I've just wet myself or if my waters have just broken. I don't know what I need to go. I need to stop and check what's going on. And he was like, yeah, sure. So I waddled to the toilet opposite the birthing thing. And I was absolutely terrified at that stage. I basically had blood everywhere. You know, in my pants, on my legs, and I was like, I thought, oh my gosh, it's a stillborn. Straight away, it was my first thought, and obviously at that stage, all your hormones are going crazy. You don't know what's happening, you know, nothing. We don't know how far I am, and just seeing blood, I thought that was, I just thought that's it, you know, something's not right. So I came out and I was like, oh, you know, Max, there's blood everywhere. I've bled on the toilet and blood everywhere, and there's blood in my pants. I don't know what to do. And I think he'd pressed the button for the bloc de naissance because there were a couple of people who'd come out. I think they were midwives or nurses. I'm not quite sure. I don't know what was going on. I don't know who the hell I was at that stage. Because I was having more contractions again, and I couldn't, you know, they were talking to me, but Maxine was answering, because I just couldn't answer people then. I just remember saying, oh, I bled in the toilet, you need to get someone to clean it up in there. Oh my gosh. It's funny now, but it wasn't funny back then. At the bloc de naissance, you basically have 3 rooms you go through, logically. I mean, there's extra bits, but the 3 main rooms is the first one is the examination room, where they check the baby's heart rate, make sure you're okay, your blood pressure, see how many centimeters you're dilated, all that fun stuff. They check you out. And then you go into the salle de travail, which is where it's likely a bedroom. You can ask for your bouncy ball, you can use the hot shower, you spend the time there and make sure, you know, basically carry on going into labour. Really poorly explained, I'm sorry, mum brain. And then the final room is the birthing suite, where you're going to give birth, so the delivery suite, I think that's what they would call it in English. So anyway, I went to the first room, the examination room, and I was having more and more contractions, and I kid you guys not, I sat on the bed. They were like, okay, sit down and we'll examine you. I literally sat down, and that's when there was just like a whoosh and everything came out onto the floor. Not the baby, thank goodness, but mucus plug, waters, everything just went out on the floor. And I looked at Maxime and I said, the baby's coming. Really dramatic, I know, but the baby was coming. And then I felt my body push, and I started, when your body's pushing, you make kind of, it's not like in the films where you're screaming and oh my gosh, baby's coming. It's like animalistic noises, like a low growl almost. And my body was pushing. And I just remember hearing these 2 terrified voices from the midwives saying, just try and breathe through it, you know, try and breathe and we can see what's going on, you know, slow things down. Once you start pushing, you cannot stop. I was trying to breathe and slow things, I just couldn't. My body had taken control and the baby was coming. And so they hadn't even strapped anything to me, everything had come out, I was pushing. And so I was kind of like half off the bed, because that's just how I was comfortable. And they were like, okay, I'm just going to check where he is. So she literally stuck her hand just underneath me to see what was going on. And then I heard her say, I can feel the head is coming, like the baby's head is coming out now. So I'm there pushing against, you know, can't stop pushing basically, and they're trying to force me onto the bed. They're like, oh, get on the bed, and I'm like, I can't move, I'm giving birth. And so they had to get my husband to sort of hoist me onto the bed. I can't remember that bit at all, but that's what happened apparently. And then they wheeled me into the birthing suite, and they were like, okay, we need you to transfer to the other bed, you know, get onto the bed to give birth. And bloody hell, it's like climbing Everest, I think, is the most reasonable comparison. I was having this baby, and I had literally just managed to swing one leg onto the bed. I was like sideways on the bed, swung both my legs up, had just managed to get onto this bed, and then I felt the ring of fire for like the briefest of moments. That's when, I think it's when the crowning of the head, or is it when the shoulders come out? I cannot even remember. I felt the briefest moment, the ring of fire, pushed one last time, and that's it. And then felt the baby come out onto the bed, and there was like a stunned silence, and then he started crying. Then you could hear a baby crying, and we were just in shock. My husband he'd literally just put the bag down in the first room, and then had to help me onto the bed, and then picked up the other bag to come back into the birthing suite. So he nearly missed the birth. That's just how quick it was. So we arrived at the hospital at 4:30, as I said, and our son arrived at 4:47. So very, very quick. We could have given birth in the car or in the hospital entry hall, or, you know, it's just entrance hall rather. So yeah, a completely different birth. And I had no pain relief. Thank goodness the baby was okay. So let this video be a warning to you guys if you are expecting even your first baby, but definitely your second, at least your second or third or whatever. When they say it can happen more quickly, believe that. It can happen quickly. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but in my case, the exit was already made for the first, like with the first baby. So we went with the name Theo, or Theo, like T-H-E with an accent O. And then Christopher is my father's name, and then obviously Joly is our name, our family name. Yeah, and it's nice having like Lucy and Theo, and Lucy's just so sweet with him. I'll do a video about all that fun stuff about bringing him home, introducing the big sister. Our little boy Theo Christopher Joly, he weighed 3.57 kilos at birth for 50.5 centimeters in length. And you came into this world so quickly, and even though he'd made us wait for 41 weeks and 1 day, it was worth the wait, wasn't it? Hey. So I'm going to try and show you guys. Oh. There we go. So yeah, 18 days old. And he's just perfect. Oh, good boy. Look at these little baby feet. I know, sweetie. A big thank you to all the kind messages of support we have received. Hey? All the messages of love and support, and it's been, I know, sweetie. Goodness me. I think he's kind of waking up now, so I'm going to have to cut this video short. Oh, I know, sweetie. What's Mummy doing? Mummy's talk, but not to you, am I? A big thank you to my mum. She was absolutely amazing, and I don't think I'd have got that far without her just being there. You know, just her presence was just amazing help for me. So thank you, Mum. And also big thank you to my husband, who I love, and he was just such a rock. And I was pressing up against him, having these contractions all the way to the bloc de naissance, but he was just perfect rock.
Amazing, just amazing.
Thank you ever so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more baby updates, because I am sure there'll be plenty to come once I've had some rest and just get back into some kind of routine. But yeah, I hope you guys are all well and well prepared for the summer. Take care, and I'll see you all soon. Bye guys.